So one of my favorite things to help my students understand is the number system. We use this in Nashville. They call it the Nashville number system. I don't quite teach the whole Nashville number system. There's some things that are a little more complicated. I just teach a basic number system. So if we are in the key of A, what does that mean? That means we are using the notes from the A scale. Now an A scale is just do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1 again, starting on an A. So, oh, here's A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Or do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That is an A scale. I just sang it. Okay, so if I'm in the key of A, it means I'm going to be using those pitches. So I like to say it's like you're an artist, you're a painter, except with notes instead of colors. So in your palette, instead of having red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, or those pitches. So in music, the tricky thing is you almost not have to, but it's helpful to understand the piano and see a piano. Sometimes when we go to letter names, 1 is A, 2 is B, 3 is C, technically C sharp, but we're not going to talk about that because it's a black key substitute. 4 is D, 5 is E, 6 is F sharp, again a substitute, we're not going to talk about that. 7 is G sharp, again a substitute, and then 1, A again. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Except there's going to be some sharps in there, but we're not going to talk about that for now. So those are the colors on our palette, or those are the notes that we can choose from for a song in the key of A. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. How do I know about the sharps? Years of experience, you'll get there. Okay, so if we are in that scale, we can build a chord on each note of that scale. And not all chords are created and used equally. What chord is used the most heavily? The 1 chord. So if we are in the key of A, the A chord is the most important chord. That's going to be the one that's sounds like home base. You're going to keep coming back to the A chord. Okay? The next important one is the 4 chord. A, B, C, D. And then finally, E. Those are the most important chords in the key of A. A, D, and E. The 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. Okay, the cool thing about this is those are all major chords. And they are the major chords. They're the major chords as opposed to minor, A major, D major, E major, E major. But they are also the major chords in the sense of they're the most important and the most heavily used ones. Guess what? The 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 6 chord, they're minor chords. And they're also used less often. So if this is A, the 2 chord is B minor, the 3 chord is C sharp minor, D major, E major, F sharp minor, and the 7 chord, we don't talk about 7. I always like to use the Encanto song, we don't talk about 7, no, you're never gonna use a 7 chord. You're never gonna use a 7 chord. It's a shapeshifter. It always gets hijacked by someone else. We'll talk about that later. Okay, so in the scale, the 1 chord is major, the 2 chord, minor, 3 chord, minor, 4 chord, major, 5 chord, major, I wish I had another finger, 6 chord, minor, 7 chord, we don't talk about, and then 8, there is no 8, it's 1 again. So we just start over again. So the major chords are 1, 4, and 5. So let's say this land is your land. It's in the key of A. I have a video where we play it in the key of A. It uses the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. That's it. A, D, and E, the whole song. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. What if we don't want to be in the key of A? What if we want to play it in the key of C? Well, all we do is we make C 1. If C is 1, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. C, F, and G are the main chords in the key of C. So if we wanted to play This Land Is Your Land in the key of C, instead of A, in the key of A, like I played it in another video, if we wanted to transpose it, that's the fancy musician word, to the key of C, we'd play C every time we had the 1 chord, F every time we had the 4 chord, and G every time we have the 5 chord. So you can transpose that You can transpose it that way all the time. And you find out who's one, figure out who one is, and then you can work from there. I really like to use the number system to play from, because the great thing is, let's say we're singing This Land Is Your Land and it's way too low in my voice. I can just change it to a different key. I can just move it to a different one. And if A is too low for my voice, I can bump it up to B, or I can bump it up to C, and I don't need a new chord chart. I can just transpose in my head. If I know that in the key of C, C is 1, F is 4, and G is 5, I can just switch it to those chords. It doesn't matter. It gets a little more complicated as you have the minor chords, 2s and 3s and 6s in, and sometimes we get borrowed chords, which that makes it, again, a little more complicated. But as long as you follow this in a sequential way, you'll be fine.